For those of you that have been with me long enough, you might remember that I attempted to do a Soul Reaver retrospective before, and Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver was released on the original PlayStation and Microsoft Windows in 1999, and I was a mere 16 years old when I played one of the many games that permanently cemented in place my love for video games. Yeah, I think I can do better. I said organist.
That'll be 159, please, love.
Look, I can barely hear you. I'll have to call you back.
Meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow. Meow, meow.
I don't know. He doesn't look too friendly. Maybe let's get out of here. Normally, I like to keep my retrospective reviews to the 20th anniversary birthday month that the game came out. But Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver is definitely the exception to that rule. The Legacy of Kain series is one of my all-time favourite video game series. The characters, the plotline, the gameplay, to me it's just brilliant, and it came to me at the right point in my life. That's why, even though the game came out in August 1999 and here we are in September, I still wanted to talk about it. If you've got any fond memories of the Legacy of Kain series, in particular Soul Reaver, I'd love to hear about them in the comments down below. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver is an action-adventure video game developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Eidos Interactive. At the time, Eidos Interactive was best known for publishing the early Tomb Raider games. Soul Reaver was originally designed and published for the Sony PlayStation, but would make the leap to the PC later in the year and would be ported to the Sega Dreamcast in early 2000. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver is the second game in the Legacy of Kain series. Soul Reaver tells the story of vampire-turned-wraith Raziel, who is killed by the vampire lord Kain, but then revived by the Elder Gods to exact revenge. Welcome, Ladles and Jelly Spoons, to the part of the video where I play a little bit of the game in question, or that we're talking about today, and, well, reminisce, I guess, for this particular game, because I don't have too many facts about it. The main fact about this game is, obviously, the game went through a period of development hell, and is exactly why we get to look at that lovely screen. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was developed by Silicon Knights, and Soul Reaver was developed by Crystal Dynamics. Right at the very end, both development companies sort of fell out for various reasons, and prolonged the release of the game. Some people that I've spoken to have said that actually that might have been a good thing, because if they tried to cram all of the elements, all of the gameplay mechanics that they'd want to do into this one sole PlayStation game, it might have suffered because of it. I sort of see that argument, but I also sort of say, yeah, the game unfortunately though finishes at a really weird cliffhanger, and you just go like, hang on, there's no way they can have planned that to have been the end of the game. However, we did get a very nice sequel out of it, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. Apologies as always for the squeaky chair.
Until I have the honour of surpassing my lord.
It's not too bad today. I'm saying that it's going to probably let out the world's worst squeak in a minute. Now, personally, I played Soul Reaver before I played Legacy of Kain. Yeah. I don't mind Legacy of Kain. It's obviously it's a harder game to play now, and it's a harder game to play if you've played this first. But still a decent game. You know something bad's about to happen. There he goes. Oh dear. Poor old Raziel had the audacity to grow wings before Kain, and Kain got a little bit cross about it and has decided to cast him into the abyss.
There was only one possible outcome.
You're all going to die. Now, one thing I always remember the first time I played this game, if you look at, we're going to get a close-up of Kain's face in a minute. His obvious hairline there, which is kind of like coming down here, like right there, isn't it? I didn't realise that was his hairline. I thought it was... I genuinely thought it was like his skull. First time I played it, it took me ages to realise, oh, it's his hair. Because obviously his sort of like eyebrows have got like, or like this bit has grown over the top of it. It's confused me for ages. Now, I played this game obviously back in 1999. It's one of the few games I played around at my grandparents' house. I used to take my PlayStation over there at weekends, and we used to have I used to play it in the evenings.
The descent had destroyed me.
And, sorry, I'm waiting for the voiceover because I just, again, one of my fond memories. He wakes up, he realises, oh my god, he's still alive, but he's not vampire, he's not human. Of a free steak dinner, courtesy of the Elder God Enterprises, I guess. No. Yeah, I played this game round at my grandparents' house. Now, I think it is testament to the writing of this game that my grandparents understood what was going on. It's one of the few games, they didn't like it, because they're sort of God-fearing simple folk. That sounds really cruel. I don't mean it to sound that. I don't mean that to sound like an insult, but yeah, they obviously they never understood like the storyline of Super Mario or Sonic, because that's back in the days when the storyline was in the manual. You had to read the manual to understand kind of like the story behind the game. This game is probably one of the first games I ever played with them, or in front of them, where they understood like that this was a story of sort of revenge, and like you know, they understood, oh, okay, there's this bad guy, he's just thrown our protagonist into a pit and he's gonna get his revenge. And I was like, wow, that says a lot about the writing for early, or sort of, I guess late PlayStation games. And that is one of the main reasons why this game has sort of like stuck in my memory. This scene actually in particular is also kind of one that's always sticks in my memory. Whenever I think of Legacy of Kain, I think of this particular scene. Walks towards the camera, and he does this weird kind of like
my angel of death.
Yeah, weird. Right, let's go. Okay. So, this opening bit is very much like the tutorial of the game. You'll it sort of takes you through various things you can do. Obviously, it's introducing the gates to the game. My grandparents didn't necessarily understand everything about the game. Like, I think the actual gameplay elements of it, like the level design, that sort of confused them. They wondered why there was so much, why they had to wait so long, or you know, they didn't really understand what I was doing when I was trying to traverse a level or solve a puzzle. They just sort of understood the cutscenes and some of the voiceover slash exposition. They didn't particularly enjoy the violence in the game. I think they were a bit sort of. I think I'm right in remembering that I played this game before I played Resident Evil in front of them. They definitely didn't like that. Yeah, but obviously compared to today's standards, the violence in this game is
hunger has left me.
Is quite comical. I don't think it was designed to be comical. I think that's just kind of like the way it's aged is just quite humorous. But you know, when this game first came out, they were like, oh God, you're. This bit in particular, I remember I remember my gran making a comment about this bit.
Underworld.
So,
Consume the souls of your enemies.
yeah, consume the souls of your enemies. And she was like, why do you have to consume the souls of the lost souls of the underworld? So like, that was Marjorie. That was poor Derek from the Cash and Carry, and that was, there we are. Consumed another one. Debbie from the WI, and Sandra from Two Doors Down. Like, well, they don't. Why do they deserve to be sucked up? I was like, okay, it's just a mechanic. No need to lose your shit. I didn't say that. We'll hopefully get to a
Your wings, though ruined,
to a combat, a proper combat scene, and you sort of see what I mean about the quote-unquote comical violence. Jump and hold to glide. Oop, there we go. Ooh, again, this game was built, as I think I will talk about it in the actual video, was built on the Gex 3 engine. And when I found that out, I was genuinely quite surprised, because that game was quite sort of family sort of friendly, light, quite bright game. This game is very dark and gothic and has actually just shown its age quite amusingly, because it says press hold R1 to auto face, or as we probably call it now, lock on or target. Yeah, the term auto face definitely aging this game. Yeah, one of the first games I think to have an auto face or a lock on function. Here we go, explaining the gates. We're going to head to the mortal realm.
The spectral and material realms. With their aid, you may gather matter.
Legacy of Kain's Soul Reaver began development alongside a direct sequel to the first Legacy of Kain game in 1997. Soul Reaver focused more on puzzle solving, whereas Blood Omen 2 focus was more on action. Crystal Dynamics staff aimed to develop gameplay similar to Tomb Raider by using an upgraded version of the Gex 3 game engine to generate the three-dimensional game world. For the story, Soul Reaver is based on the research of vampire mythology that Silicon Knights did for Blood Omen, as well as drawing on inspiration from the epic poem Paradise Lost. They also aimed to combine gameplay with storytelling, in a similar manner to Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The game's director Amy Hennig likened the technological advances from Blood Omen to Soul Reaver to the evolution of the Legend of Zelda series from the Super Nintendo to the N64, bringing the franchise into 3D while maintaining a similar 2D style. Now, it's true, you can't really talk about the Legacy of Kain series without talking about Amy Hennig. From starting out as being a games artist for the original NES, to being the director and scriptwriter at Naughty Dog and working on the Uncharted series, Amy Hennig has been called one of the most influential women in the games industry. She believes that the creative direction of the script holds more importance than the graphics of a game. She also considers her work on the Legacy of Kain series to be her greatest achievement. While development seemed to be going well, just before Soul Reaver's release, Silicon Knights filed an injunction to stop further promotion of the game, because they were unhappy with Crystal Dynamics' use of their research. This in turn forced Crystal Dynamics to dramatically cut the game down, as they now had a much smaller development team, and original, much larger plans were cut into two, meaning that they had now over-designed the game. Given the constraints, this explains Soul Reaver's cliffhanger ending. Many of the elements that were being talked about for Soul Reaver would show up in later games. Music for the game was composed by Kurt Harland, who is best known for his work on the Legacy of Kain series, but has also composed for many other video games over the years. Harland said in an interview that Amy Hennig wanted the music to change based on the current gameplay situation, and worked very closely with Harland to make sure the music fit. Each vampire tribe has corresponding music. One tribe of vampires was associated with a slow, thumping theme to convey a sense of working machinery. Music from both Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2 were released in a promotional soundtrack in 2001. Voice acting in the game was covered by a rich cast. Michael Bell, who is best known for his youthful voice despite being 81 years old, was brought on board to voice Raziel.
I am your creation, Kain. Now, as before.
Tony J, best known as the voice of Judge Claude Frollo in Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, voiced the Elder God.
Use your hatred to reave their souls.
And Amy Gunn, Simon Templeman and Richard Doyle reprised their role from the first Legacy of Kain game as Ariel, Kain and Morbius.
Meow, 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 meow.
Hey, isn't that the guy from outside the corner shop?
Meow, 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 meow.
And will yourself to become manifest in the physical world.
Will yourself to become manifest
Your
in
strength
mortal
must
realm.
first be fully restored. You require no conduit to return to this plane.
No, you just need to get
make
beaten up
back your
enough
physical body at
and you'll be
any
sent
time.
back in, back to the spectral realm. Cast. There we go.
Sustain your strength to prolong your manifestation in the physical
Keep eating
world.
souls and you can stay
If you
in
fail
the,
to feed
in the mortal
or
realm.
absorb too many wounds,
Get
this
beaten up
fractal
enough
matter will dissolve.
and you will be sent back. You will be sent back in, back to the spectral realm. Don't go
You
in
are
water.
young yet, Raziel. You still retain many of your vampiric weaknesses. Immersion
Also,
in
I like
water,
the fact that
while
this is
not
one of the
fatal, will
few
dissolve
games I
your
think I've played
physical body,
in a long
forcing
time where
your
actually they take the
return
time
to
to
the spirit
do a bit of
world.
a voiceover and sort of tell
Be
you
aware
what
that in the
what's-
spectral realm,
what the
water
crack is with the
neither
game.
F
So
nor
many
E
games now, I think they try not to take you out of the immersion, so they just flash up sort of something on screen, and so often I miss it. Ooh. I dipped my toe in, sorry. I'm just thinking I've played some of Red Dead Redemption 2 recently, and that game and GTA 5 annoyed the shit out of me. Like, it'll mention a game mechanic briefly and I miss it.
It's impossible. These foul, scuttling beasts could not be kin of our high blood.
No, but they are, Raziel, they definitely are.
Time stood still for you, Raziel.
So this is the first proper combat bit, and I'll sort of hopefully get to show you what I mean by don't fall in the water. Christ.
I knew my opponent's weaknesses, having suffered them myself.
I like
Physical
the
wounds are
design.
fleeting.
of
Vampires' immortal
those
flesh begins to
vampires.
close
Very
as
kind of
soon
like
as it is
ape-like.
cleaved. Vampires need only
I will quite
fill those
happily
wounds
admit
with pale
that,
old flame. Water scorches like acid.
I think I definitely
fledglings
preferred
are
the
devastated by
Dreamcast version of the
sunlight's
game,
touch.
but I do have a soft
Have to
spot
modify
for
my
the
techniques to suit
PlayStation
my
version,
foe.
which is why that's the version we're playing today. That and see, I can get in the sun, bitches. That and I didn't want to have to spend ages trying to work out how to rig up the Dreamcast. I was like, today is not that day. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. I know you're not allowed to come into the sunlight, but come on, try and attack me. Come on, try and attack me. Come on. Yeah. Oh. You need to be up here. Be up here. Come on. Oh. Come on. Oh. Ah. Bang. Bang. See what I mean? It's like for its time. I understand why my grandparents were a bit. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
Into the spectral realm.
Exactly.
Draw it in quickly, Raziel, or you will be compelled to follow.
I'm like, oh. Here we go.
Your physical prowess surpasses what you knew in life.
Yes.
Even massive obstacles can be moved effortlessly.
This bit itself, this kind of also had a very like a very Tomb Raider feel to it. Okay, and I think once you get through here, we get a nice little bit of a nice little exposition dump.
My God! The sanctuary of the clans reduced to ruin. Beyond these walls lay the pillars of Nosgoth.
As much as you can show ruins in sort of PlayStation style graphics. Again,
collapsing into the dust
the PC version and the Dreamcast version were, they looked a little bit prettier.
And resurrection, centuries had apparently passed.
This world is wrecked with cataclysms. The earth strains to shrug off the pestilence of Kain's parasitic empire. The fate of this world was preordained in an instant by a solitary man. Unwilling to martyr himself to restore Nosgoth's balance, Kain condemned the world to the decay you see. In that moment, the unraveling began. Now it is nearly played out. Nosgoth teeters on the brink of collapse. Its fragile balance cannot hold.
And there we are, have a little bit of exposition dump, and that sort of sums up pretty much what happened in the first game. Obviously Kain refused to sort of martyr himself, he refused to die and set the balance. He was like, I want to live forever. And it also, in my eyes, sort of signals the end of the tutorial. So you can't left in this quite, for its time, sort of open world. Right, I cannot grab this fucking, there we go. Buff, buff, buff. Come on, come on, you bastard. Come on, come on. And impale! Right, that's the other thing. A nice little bit there. Because they didn't get time, I don't know if it's because they didn't get time or they always had it planned. They didn't animate the bending down to pick something up off the floor sort of animation, so every time you go past something and you want to pick it up, you just sort of get zapped to your hand instantly. But that was we're going to stop right there. That was a brief look at Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Genuinely is one of the gems of late 90s PlayStation gaming. It's not without its flaws, I'm not going to lie, but it's a terrific game, and hope you've enjoyed watching me play through a little bit of it. As the game begins, Raziel approaches Kain's throne and extends his newly grown wings. In an act of seeming jealousy, Kain tears the bones from Raziel's wings and throws him into the Lake of the Dead. Raziel is resurrected as a wraith by the Elder God to kill Kain, thus restoring the land of Nosgoth that Kain has left to rot following the events of Legacy of Kain Blood Omen. With the Elder God's help, Raziel adapts to his new form. Raziel confronts Kain, who does not appear surprised to see him, apparently having expected to see him, and implies that he has destroyed Raziel's vampire clan. Kain quickly overpowers Raziel and attempts to strike him down with the Soul Reaver, a powerful sword that absorbs its victim's souls. However, the Reaver shatters when it strikes Raziel, and Kain escapes, strangely satisfied. Right, if I go any further, I'm going to spoil the game for you, and I can highly recommend that you seek out this game and try it for yourself. If you're a fan of vampires and vampire stories, I genuinely do believe that this game series is one of the better vampire stories out there. If you're wondering, playing the game for the first time, it will probably take you a good, I'd say 12 hours to complete, which for a 1999 video game is no bad thing. Once you know what you're doing and you've played it a couple of times, you can probably get through the whole thing in about 8 to 10 hours. The player controls Raziel, a disfigured and ghostly vampire cum wraith. The gameplay relies largely on shifting between the material and spectral planes of existence to progress through areas. Interaction with objects in the spectral realm is limited. Blocks and doors and switches can only be manipulated in the physical realm. Because Raziel can phase through the realms, he can often find ways through impassable sections in one realm or the other. Many puzzles are based on the differences between the two realms. Combat is a hack and slash system, involving the use of combinations of various different attacks before a finishing move.
Enemies in the game are most commonly vampires, as well as human enemies such as vampire hunters, vampire worshippers and peasants. Human enemies can be killed by Raziel's melee attack or with any weapon, but vampires must be bludgeoned into a stunned state and either impaled, set on fire or thrown into sunlight or water. In the spectral realm you'll fight minor enemies called Slaug, and the souls of dead vampires who have become wraiths. Defeated enemies will leave behind souls to replenish Raziel's health, which decreases automatically in the material realm. Possession of the Soul Reaver sword will stop the automatic degradation of health in the physical realm, but Raziel loses the sword instantly if he sustains damage, and can regain it only by restoring his health to full. At the start of the game, Raziel can jump, glide using his torn wings, move blocks, and pick up and throw objects and enemies. He fights using his claws, but can alternatively use weapons such as rocks, torches, spears and staffs. Raziel can freely shift to the spectral realm, but he can return to the material realm only through the use of portals when at full health. Raziel will automatically return to the spectral realm if he runs out of health. As the game progresses, Raziel gains the powers of his brothers after killing them, such as the ability to phase through gates in the spectral realm, climb walls in the material realm, constrict objects and enemies with a band of energy, and whilst initially vulnerable to water, he gains the power to overcome this weakness and is able to swim. Players can also find relics that give Raziel the power to fire bolts of telekinetic energy, transform the Soul Reaver into the Flame Reaver by baptism in the Holy Flame, as well as find magical glyphs at glyph altars that allow Raziel to expand his magical energy and attack groups of enemies simultaneously.
Meow! Meow, meow, meow! Meow, 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 meow!
Shit. Quick, Tiger Thom. The house keys. Come on.
Thank God I caught up with you. You forgot your change in the corner shop. Here you are.
49p. Thanks. You know what, I think I might have preferred it if you were out to kill us. Thanks for watching my retrospective review of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Please be sure to click the old like button if you enjoyed the video, and why not tell me your favourite bit in the comments down below. Similarly, if you dislike the video, please be sure to hit the dislike button and tell me which bits you disliked in the video in the comments down below. But for more retrospective reviews, odd British humour and this mush, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you're notified next time I upload a video. Or just come back here next Wednesday for more Kohigh Mathy madness.
I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner.